Hello everyone, I guess Joe. Hopefully you're having a wonderful Monday. We are back again with another PWCC/Fanatics weekly review where I go through the top 100 soccer items auction off this last weekend. A little later than normal, ran into some technical difficulties, so this will be a late upload. Nonetheless, we are still here. With that said, no further ado, let's just swing on over to the site and get chatting. So, yeah, we start off this week at $88, so not too high to get into this weekly. In the first show, I mean, nothing crazy of note. I felt like that Leao was a relatively, decent price if you're someone trying to pick that up, just because it's a PSA 10. That would assume Raw/PSA 9 is like a $20, $30 card, which doesn't seem crazy to me. This Nuno Gomez here for $88. I'm sure I could pronounce that more Portuguese, but I will refrain and spare your ears. Next to we have a 1926 Greeling Jimmy Hogan here, going for $88 in a 1/5 grade. This tops now, predicting the future here with a Ballon d'Or Lamine Yamal. I believe this is like a Ballon d'Or set, and he won the, I think it's like a Copa Trophy or something like that for Young Player of the Year, $91 there, which seems like a decent price for, a Tops Now card, but at the same time, a theme throughout this is me not understanding Lamine Yamal prices. I guess, to be fair, I understand why. I just, I have some questions. I have some hesitancy personally. And we'll see that more and more as the auction block goes on. Red Casillas here for $93. I thought that was a fairly good deal. There's a PK above it as well that I think is a decent deal. Like if you're someone trying to put together 2014 Prism, a team color match for a team like Spain for under $100 and a PSA 9, which isn't all that easy. Pop one a 3 none higher. Feels pretty cool. Base PSA 10 Topps Chrome Messi for nearly $100. That felt like a decent price there. Only 10 watchers. Watchers are always somewhat notable. Tells you how many people are lurking. Above that, 26 on a PK here. 26 watchers, that is, goes for $96. The Casillas did have a little bit more watchers, which is kind of what I would assume. We then have a Messi sticker for $96, along with a Leaf Pedri auto for $103. Keeping it moving, a Ferrero Eurogallo Pele and a 1 for $108, along with a João Felix with 7 total watchers for $108 on that green select, and a laser Cristiano Ronaldo for $112. We've seen these 2020 Este Messis continue to seemingly dip, but I mean, this feels kind of fair for a really new sticker. It is a nice looking sticker. I'll always give it that. $115 on that. We have $117 here on this Cristiano Ronaldo. Obsidian patch, presumably not connected to the player at all. The enclosed player worn/used, blurring the lines there. Could have been worn, could have been used, who knows. I'm going to go with worn at best, but nonetheless, $117 there. Tie-dye Harry Kane sticker auto here for $117. We then have an item that I did bid on that went for an okay price, $120 there on that Arthur Smith from $18.99. The Boys Own Paper, sort of a cutout from like a book almost. I took a stab at it pretty low just because I haven't gotten anything 1900s and prior. I haven't really even dipped my toe into English footballing history in the early 1900s, pre-World War I. That would have been it, but alas. $120 there on that one. Seemed like a decent price. There was a PSA 5 MK that did like $40 recently, so that's a decent multiple over the MK version. PSA 6 Baresi here for $120. That felt fairly strong. Those are up a little bit. I remember getting a 7 for around this price, maybe half a year ago or so. Topps Merlin Lamine Yamal here, base, goes for $132, and just sort of the start of what I'm referencing here. I mean, again, I know it's a rookie. I guess we'll talk about it more as we go, but yeah, I mean, 24 watchers is a lot for a base card, man, especially a base card where Lamine Yamal has tons of numbered, tons of stuff. I always wonder on this type of stuff, are the watchers going to go up? And I feel like it's really hard to think that Merlin base cards are going to see the watchers go up on something like this. So yeah, just, some perspective on it. We'll have more as we go, as I mentioned. Above it, you have a Fabio Capello here, Velita back PSA 4 for $132. This was up quite a bit. I looked it up just because I was interested. The only thing I really know this man for is the 2010 World Cup with England, but $132 on this one. There was a sale for like $40 a couple years ago, so that's up quite a lot. Only 3 watchers too, which is pretty impressive. Bonaparte here from 1947, Baldini Castoldi. Goes for $138. I feel like we saw one of those go recently, maybe a different player, maybe a different year, I'm not sure. But $140 on that doesn't strike me as crazy. We have a Garnacho under 21 star for $138. Sticker auto there. In this row, a couple Pelés along with a Gavi stained glass. When I say stained glass, it's Renaissance, forgive me. They They trick me sometimes with these modern case hits. But 150 on that one. Next to it, we have a 1965 Editress Verbania. It goes for 156 there. I was interested because I don't really see this that often. It looks like the same sort of image that you get with the Sicker Verlog. Forgive me for my negligence, but I just realized I was covering up the prices on the left-hand side of the screen. So hopefully you can forgive me. We'll figure it out from here, but should be good. Looking at these prices over here, I was just interested because I felt like I haven't really seen this sticker too much. This goes for 156 in terms of past comps. Anything close, there was a SGC 3 for 72. I also did figure out that there's dark mode on Card Ladder. I'll probably use this. Let me know if you guys like the dark mode more than the light mode. Beyond that, though, I mean, definitely down from something like this PSA 6 going for 800 on a best offer. PSA 4 did 200 back here, so all in all, it seems a little light, but ultimately not crazy. Next to it, you have a 62 Marcus Stella Pele here for 156 and a PSA 5. Above it, take your pick of the gold prisms. I'd probably take the Casemiro just for the name value there. Of course, you get one less grade, PSA 10 versus PSA 9. Both go for nearly 200. Club and Country Messi, this is the club version, PSA 9 for nearly 200 as well. That was a decent price. I think comps on that was like 140, 150, so it's up a little bit there. Lionel Messi, orange field level out of 49 goes for 204. That just sort of struck me as, somewhat low. As a lover of field levels myself, an out of 49 Messi PSA 10 for 200 implies the raw is like 60 or 70, which doesn't seem, all that crazy to me. We have a Luis Figo here, 2017 gold, Club and Country. That goes for 204 here out of 10 and a PSA 9. Sort of said that weird, but interesting nonetheless if you would take the Messi or the Figo. As someone that really doesn't want to enter the post-playing career space, I'd probably take the Messi, even though it's unnumbered, but that's just me. We have a Merlin Premier Stars, Cristiano Ronaldo. I don't feel like I've ever really seen these in these auction blocks. 204 for a pop 105 doesn't strike me as, wildly high. It was graded a decent bit ago too. Sometimes with this type of stuff where it's a pop 105, you wonder if like all 5 were graded recently and all 5 got 10s. That was graded a while ago, so that feels like a relative deal. Above it, Moussa Dembele, Gold Prism 210. We have a, Enzo Fernandez, a rookie 210 on that color blast, along with a Lamine Yamal base card. Again, 216 on that one with 21 watchers. I mean, just really impressive stuff. This is what I was wondering. So when I went and looked at this the first go around, you can get a Messi out of 49 orange, or you can get a Lamine Yamal base. And I know it's a rookie. Everyone's going to say, but this is a rookie. And hey, it is. You're not wrong. This is a rookie. But at the end of the day, if Lamine Yamal becomes the great player everyone feels like he can be, and some people think he for sure will be, he's going to have 15 years, 20 years of numbered cards constantly. So a base card at the end of the day will be such an afterthought when all of these numbered cards exist. And so, are you gonna risk it on a base PSA 10 or just take Messi out of 49 in a PSA 10? I mean, to me that just seems like, it's so easy. And the watchers are the same too, nearly, which is again I think laughable. But again, that's my opinion. I'm clearly not a Lamine Yamal guy. I wasn't someone that was excited to buy Lamine Yamal 5 or 6 months ago, so I'm certainly not excited to buy him now. But, to some degree, I do like seeing young soccer prospects get some love if they do something good, because we have lived in a space for a while now where, like Haaland did everything you could imagine. His prices really didn't move. And that's almost equally disheartening as like someone moving way too much and way too fast and maybe, going to leave a lot of people with a bag. But again, just pure speculation here. Inception, Eduardo Camavinga out of 5 goes for 222. That's his orange from 2020. If you were around, he was a big name at one point. He wasn't the name, but he was a big name during the booming days. 2020 Gold Wave Auto here of Christian Pulisic and a PSA 10. That seemed kind of light. I don't know what the pop is estimated to be on a Gold Wave. I'd have to imagine it's low. It's also pop 101. I thought that was decent. I'm not a sticker auto guy. I'm not a Gold Wave guy. I'm none of that, but that just felt kind of low. Donnarumma PSA 9 for 228. This will be the beginning of even more kabooms we'll see as we go. I sort of feel like kabooms are almost giving me Prism 2014 vibes from 2020 when Prism was just all the rage. I'm starting to feel that with kabooms. I might make a video on that soon, but that's sort of my sentiment, and I guess we'll see more examples of that as we go. We have a Campione dello Sport Pele, a Nuzzy from 1963 and a 1/5 for 228, along with an Instantaneous Pele. This has a ton of different Peles in it. This is one of many. PSA 7, it is a pop 1 of 1 and higher. How that fares over time, I do not know, but clearly that's going to do a little bit of a premium at this point. You have a Pele Maradona sort of dual patch here. I would guess it's game worn. Actually, I have no clue. So I would hope it is, but at the same time, hard to really ever know. So we go to page 1 here, and we start off here with a couple kabooms. We had a Vinny for 324 in a PSA 9, and a Robert Lewandowski for 336 in a PSA 8. Along with that, this Fergie's Heroes that we've seen a fair few of lately. I've sort of made my feelings known on this, but 324 for that one. Above it, this 69 Edizione Relli Calcio Campionato Pele. This one always sort of sticks out to me, just like the weird background. It's just sort of eerie, I guess. That one goes for 360 and a pop 1 of 2 none higher. So the Pele set registry chasers, that's a fun one. Next to it, a 46 Sigogna Omnia Sport Mazzola and a 3 for 372. You have then a Due here out of 50 Gold Refractor Youthquake for 372, sort of the man of the match from the Champions League final, getting all the love and adoration. Well, not all of it. Lamine Yamal's getting a lot of it, but he's getting the second most for the time being. Not really a name we saw in these auctions much before, or at least a name that stuck out to me at the time. Clearly, having his moment now. So that's fun again. If you're, someone into the weeds on that type of stuff. If you bought him early and sold him now, congratulations. If you're buying him now and looking to sell later, that's a little scarier, but nonetheless. Kaboom Holland here for 372. We have a PSA 4 Beckenbauer. There was a rabbit that just ran across the yard. It kind of caught my attention. But I did look at this PSA 4 and it wasn't great. Again, you always have to look at the backs of these. And I don't know what PSA is doing. I don't know if they just don't care. I was sort of looking at the top and just like generally getting a feel for it. You can tell there's like sort of breaks in the paper. Like right here, there's sort of something going on. Down here, there's a little something like right here. But I was like, I'm being nitpicky. It definitely looks removed if I had to guess. But at the same time, who knows? And then I got down here. I was like, oh, well, clearly. Clearly it's removed. And so I just, I don't know why this is getting a 4. I really don't. I don't know if they've just changed the grading standards on this, but back in the day, that was a 1 or a 2 all day. And even still, stuff that doesn't even look removed almost sometimes gets a 1 or a 2 because presumably they think it is removed. But then stuff like this that is clearly removed still gets a 4 and passes as a 4, goes for $400, which for a PSA 1 or 2, that'd be a super strong price. For a PSA 4, that's a low price, and that's kind of why. So next to it, Champions League Red Topps Chrome from 2018, Harry Kane for 408. That didn't strike me as like terribly high considering it's a PSA 10, so a raw would be like 150, which definitely seems in the range for this level player. Red Chrome, early Red Chrome too. Above that, I thought this was an interesting one. Would you rather have the Robin Select Field Level out of 5 green or a Harry Kane red? Clearly, the Topps Chrome brand carries a little bit more to it, but it is double the pop. Robin, probably a better player all time, especially, in terms of trophies, but that goes without saying. Me personally, I really like the red chromes. I know I bought, and I showed you guys a couple Hollands that I've bought that are red chromes. I like the red chrome. I think the lineage on that is strong. The green doesn't really do it. Honestly, I'd probably rather take a gold Robin, but that's, again, just one man's opinion. 67 Rivellino here. This is labeled as a rookie. He does have 66 stuff that we've seen sell before, but from my understanding, that's from like a board game almost and not really a sticker. This seems more to the rookie form. So 420 on that actually doesn't strike me as terribly high for, a player that's done pretty good numbers elsewhere. Maradona 4 is a goal here. Just a lovely one for sure. This is definitely on my want list. I think it's on a lot of people's want list. It had 54 watchers on it, so it definitely is. Definitely beat. I mean, it's a 1.5, so what do you really expect, right? But man, what a lovely sticker that is. Well, I say sticker, but you get the idea. In terms of comps, I guess we can look back at some. This messy orange that I was talking about earlier has basically stayed the same price forever. Forgot to look at it. The 4 is a gold, though. There's been 3 sales, this one being the lowest, but it is the lowest grade. The other one's being a PSA 5 for 2K and a PSA 8 for 5K. So Kind of hard to not rationalize it. You can sort of make sense of it, but it's hard to look at other comps because over the last 3 years, you basically get one sale a year, and they're all for different grades. But I feel like generally they all sort of make sense where they're at. The PSA 5 is a massive increase on a 1.5. The PSA 8 is a massive increase on the 5. So even though they're years apart, it seems like they're fairly well staggered, I would say. Beyond that, we keep it moving here. We have a PSA 5 record Pele for $444. Those things have certainly gotten beat up very much so lately. Personally, I always say that I'm a fan of having Garincha on the other side, having a nice red border. I wouldn't prefer it like this, but I almost prefer it cut like this rather than having Garincha off in a red border, because then it's only a red border on 3 sides. It just looks kind of nasty. But a 5 for $444 certainly is low when you compare to during the boom for sure, and I think even pre-boom, like a 5 for $444 wouldn't have been a crazy price. So that hasn't really done a whole lot over the last 5 to 10 years in totality, given where we are now. 2009, Thomas Muller, PSA 10 for $456. We saw some PSA 10s of Thomas Muller go a week ago, and those were, fairly similar pricing, so this one seemed to be in the ballpark as well. Garnacho Auto for $468 here from 2023 Topps. Again, I always talk about, can you see people typing in this to try to find a card in 5 to 10 years? This, I don't even know how to describe it. Topps A/F, I think it's like Argentina something. I guess if we want, we can go in here. Yeah, I mean, look at that slab. That is just disgusting. But nearly $500 for a first Bowman doesn't seem all too shabby. 17 watchers on that, which isn't, all that strong for this level of card, or this level of sale, that is. We have a MAGA Maradona here, PSA 7 for $480. I did look that one up too, because you don't see that too often. Last 5s did $270, $300, and a 6 did nearly $300 as well. All to say, this price seems fair. I think if you're hunting it, that's definitely a fun pickup. We haven't seen a grade go that high ever. And the price seemed relatively fair compared to the other ones, so I like that. I saw, I think it was, I apologize, whoever it is. I see your stories all the time, but I saw someone post on Instagram this MAGA versus the Forza Goal and which one you'd rather have. Personally, I take the Forza Goal. I've seen those a lot less. I've seen images of people, in Spain that have a few MAGAs, and sometimes even in good grade. The Forza Goal is just elusive, and I love that set so much. So even though it's a 1.5, I'd probably take the Forza Goal over the MAGA, but I think the MAGAs are amazing too. I think that, for me personally, these are two of my favorite Maradonas, and to see them go for, $500, it's not that crazy. I do like a lot of the 70s stuff as well. I guess I should clarify and say these are two of my favorites from the 80s in particular, maybe my 2 favorites, but fun to see those go within this auction block. Next to it, Heung-min Son here for $576 in a PSA 9. Again, sort of going back to the base prism thing. Now, I get it. Kabooms are more rare than base prism. Don't get me wrong. I mean, there is, there's levels to this. I'm not saying that these are base prism that you can find everywhere, but, when I go and look up sales, I am surprised with how many of these you can find, right? Like, I was looking up Maradona Kabooms, and it was nuts to me, because I scrolled probably through like 100 or 200 of them, and I was like, this must have been over the last year or two. Like, this must have been a huge time frame. It was like 3 months, and so there's like a 1 or 2 selling basically every day, which, for soccer's a lot. For soccer, that's a lot. Next to it, 1986. You don't see these sell every day by any means. 1986 Romario. This did a decent price, $576, but not like crazy. The last one that the only other one we've ever seen sell was $1,100. Now that was during the booming days on a bin, so people probably paying top dollar for sure. There was a 1.5 of this 86 release that went for near about $500. So it seems kind of light. I will say I don't know which one of these it is. It could be both. It could be neither. Maybe I'm wrong, but I have heard rumors that they're actually 87. I don't know which one is actually 87. So I'm not, trying to start anything here. If you're a Romario diehard, let me know in a comment. Let other people know in a comment down below, because that would be helpful. These are very rare early Romarios at the very least. They also could be true rookies. CGC grades them as 86. PSA doesn't grade either of these, which is always a little, worrisome in terms of probably licensing, but also just general data. Beyond that, couple Messis in this row. You can take your pick. World Cup stars in an 8 or a 2004 Campio PSA 8 number 89. I guess personally I'd probably take the rookie just because the World Cup stars wouldn't do a whole lot for me, and then it's like, what else do I want? I'd probably not really want too much else. Like, it's kind of weird. I mean, I think the 2004 Messi sort of a standalone card that you could almost have on its own. The World Cup purple kind of feels weird, but nonetheless, they're nearly the same price. More watchers on the World Cup Prism there at 69, pretty nice amount. It's hand cut, and I'm guessing it's from like some sort of magazine. It says Gazzetta up here, and yeah, the back. I always just look at the backs of these hand cut things. You can definitely get a feel for if they were meant to be hand cut or not. This doesn't look all that meant to be hand cut, so feels like a decent price at $630 for something that probably isn't really like a soccer quote-unquote collectible. It seems like just a page out of something, so $630 on that feels pretty decent. But maybe I'm wrong. I'm not an expert on Gianni Rivera at all, so I'm just a man with a YouTube channel. Beyond that, 1962 Corpo Pele, $630 on that, nice looking one. We have a 79 Panini Calciatore PSA 5 Maradona. I believe I looked one up. Was it this 5? It was a 6, so we'll look up the 6 here in a second. But generally, they're trending the same, of course. This Charlton goes for $720, which pretty nice value, well, pretty nice price, I guess I'll say on that. This is something I haven't seen personally, the Charlton, at least from the San Giorgio set. Some people think it's a short print. I know who the winner was. He was in the Vintage Discord and made himself known. So if you haven't already, do check out the Vintage Discord, link down below. Mostly vintage, but there's pre-modern talk, there's modern talk in there. But this Charlton in particular, it was definitely one on my watch list, and I was like, oh, you know, if it goes cheap, not even if it goes cheap, but if it goes for what is comparable to other players, I'll definitely pick it up because I've never seen it. I guess I didn't recognize that it was this rare. The person that bought it said they've been hunting it for like 2 or 3 years and haven't seen one. So $720 on that, given the circumstances, makes sense. Definitely feels strong, but at the same time, when you've never seen one, and this set is pretty desirable, you know, I can understand why people would go after it. But it does do around like Bobby Moore pricing. The Bobby Moore isn't necessarily a rookie, but it sort of classes like rookie material. Since the 63 San Giorgio set is like a 62, 63 thing. So all to say, really nice price, really fun to see, and glad it was in this auction block. Pretty good eye appeal for a 4 as well, just looking at it from here, but obviously when you get up close on these stickers, there's probably some sort of surface stuff going on. Above it, we have a Julian Alvarez PSA 10 Kaboom. It is a rookie, but again, that just feels strong. Zizinho 57 OMB here. There was a Pele that sold on Golden recently from the same set. Now, from my understanding, this is a 58 release, not 57. So, you know, for someone like Pele, that's pretty meaningful. For Zizinho, it doesn't matter as much. Clearly, you can see the red across the top here. With the Pele and this one as well, there are some of these sort of like prize stickers within the set where you have to turn in some stuff. And essentially, you don't get these stickers unless you complete the prizes. And so they're really rare. And the stamp also sort of you know, has some sort of connotation that it was redeemed, and this apparently says Olivier and Benassi, so it has like the name of the set stamped across it. Some of them look a lot better than others. The reason for that is sort of debated, but nonetheless, really rare. Don't see it all that often. In terms of comps, I did look it up, but I closed it during the technical difficulties. The 57 OMBs that are more accessible for Zizinho, there's another set where 3 of them have sold, and those are around $300 to $400. So, you know, $750 for this really rare version, I can sort of definitely make sense of that. Bremer Coffee here, we got the Brazil team in a PSA 7 for $750. Doesn't feel wildly strong for what is a pretty high grade, but nonetheless a decent number at $750. Above that, you got your pick of the bunch here, Kylian Mbappe out of 49, World Cup Qatar 2022 Prism for $780, Maradona PSA 6 for $870 from the 79 Calciatore set. As I said, I would talk about it, and yeah, I mean, here's the graph. Maybe we'll see if I can get it all on here. There you go. That's the graph. Not great at all. Hasn't really found its bottom, at least so it seems. I guess over the last 2 years, it's down 30%. Over the last year, it's 3%, so maybe we're sort of finding that point at maybe $800, $900 at this very moment in time. All time, of course, we know what these graphs are going to look like. It was doing, $100 to $200 at times back in 2014 to 2019. So 800 doesn't strike me as terribly high, but at the same time, clearly it's up a good bit for sure. We also have a Taddy Bloomer here from 1907. Don't see a lot of those, so I did look that one up, of course. In terms of past comps, we have a PSA 1.5, the same exact one that sold a year ago for $1,080. So down 10% when it sells the very next year. I mean, kind of makes sense. Not really anything crazy to see there. Above it in this row, we have an Aquarella 1.5 for 1,200. Again, I've been saying they're a little less than 1,000 a grade, and that just seemingly is staying true. It seems like they've sort of found their point at this time. A Mega Cracks Lamine Yamal number 108 PSA 9 for 1,400. This is sort of when the Lamine Yamal stuff goes off the track, and I just sort of become speechless. Like, I can constantly keep warning people and saying how I don't believe in this stuff and how this is just very crazy to me, but at the same time, you know, he's a 17-year-old that's very much in contention for the Ballon d'Or, so I can understand why everyone's going crazy. I just would always sort of question people and say, well, if he doesn't win the Ballon d'Or, which it doesn't really look like he's going to, and then we go into next year, I mean, you're probably a year away from him doing anything that's going to light the world on fire the way it is now. And what's the best case scenario next year? He wins the Champions League and is a Ballon d'Or candidate. So, I mean, because this year he was already a Ballon d'Or candidate and got far in the Champions League. So to top that, you would have to basically win both, would be my thought process. Even, I mean, maybe a Champions League win on its own is enough. You know, I don't know. But yeah, it's just, at these prices, I don't know if it's enough. For most prospects, I think winning the Champions League's enough, right? But for someone like him, it feels like he's got to do a lot, and he's got to do it fast. And, you know, even if he does it next year, there's still a year between now and next year, clearly. And so it's like, are people going to be excited for the whole 12 months leading up to that? You got the World Cup as well. I'll make a video about the World Cup too, but, you know, I see the people on Instagram, the people that aren't in soccer that clearly own Yamal cards, and they're in the comment section saying, oh, he's 17, he's a Ballon d'Or candidate, the World Cup's next year. That's a fun narrative. Let's dig into it. Okay, he's 17, he's a Ballon d'Or candidate. Great. Everyone knows that. Is he going to win it? Probably not. So, sure, he's a candidate, he's not going to win it, in my opinion. Maybe he does. I don't know. The Ballon d'Or voting's always a little weird, but is he going to win it? Probably not. And will he win it next year? Maybe. But, like, what's more likely? He wins the Ballon d'Or next year and the World Cup, or he loses the Ballon d'Or and the World Cup? It's probably a lot more likely that he loses both, for sure, than him winning both, because winning a knockout stage tournament like that's just hard, you know? And so, yeah, it's exciting, but what happens if he's 18 or 19, hasn't won a Ballon d'Or, hasn't won a World Cup? He could still be doing great things. Like, I think oftentimes the disconnect here is people think that when you're talking down Lamine Yamal pricing, that you're talking down the player, or that you don't think he's a good player. I think he's a great player. I think he's a world-class talent at this very point in time. But being world-class for 1 year it's like the bare minimum to becoming hobby relevant. It really is. Now, granted, he's done it at 17, so it's a great start. It's a great start. Don't get me wrong. But is it going to sustain every year forever? Probably not. Could it go really, really sideways? Yes. So there's just huge risk here. And, I mean, 1,400 for a PSA 9 Mega Cracks is just the crazy. If you would have asked me if I would ever in my life see another modern Mega Cracks in a PSA 9 go over 1,000, I thought we were done with that. I thought that was over. But alas, here we are. So just crazy. 28 watches on that kind of clues you in as well. Like, that's nearly as many watches as you were seeing on like the select field level base. I mean, it's kind of crazy. It's really great. It's nuts. Nonetheless, Topps MLS Gold Foil Messi. This isn't Chrome. It's just base Topps. That goes for 1,600, which for base Topps doesn't feel all too terrible. Row above it, we have a treble purple Messi here for 1,700. Next to it, we have a silver circles out of 5 Ronaldo for 1,700, and then finally a foil fractor Mbappe 1 of 1 for 1,800 in a PSA 9. Above that, we have a Cristiano Ronaldo here, PSA 9 OC. So the OC designation probably means this is closer to like a PSA 7. Given that, you know, nearly 2K for PSA 7's about where they are, so that seems like a fair price to me. We have a PSA 2 here for 1,900 from the Aquarella here for Pele, which again, about 1,000 a grade on that one. And finally, John Terry and Frank Lampard 1 of 1 for 2,600. I just, you know, I know there's a lot of Chelsea collectors. I know people like Prism Black 1 of 1s, but my word, you know, a sticker auto pairing of Frank Lampard and John Terry for 2,600. It's just nuts to me. Apologies on that text there. That was me. Don't check your phone. Above that, in this row, we have a color wheel from 2022 of Lionel Messi, of course, PSA 10 for 2,700. thought that was interesting, took a look, and yeah, I was surprised by how infrequent these sold in a PSA 10. We only have 11 results here, and if we go and look, they've dipped as low as 2,000. They initially came out at 11, which seems super strong, but then went down to 6, went down to 3, 5, 2. So they dropped really fast. Within 6 months of coming out, they were around 2K. Between 2 and 3, they're still between 2 and 3. So, it seemed like they haven't really done a whole lot since their inception, but at the same time, they're holding strong, which is fun to see. PSA 6 Zidane here for 2,800. Decided to look at that because why not? We don't see a lot of Zidane foots in here. This is up quite a bit, 2K the last couple sales, so up nearly 50% over the last 8 months. And then we have a sale from, well, I guess there's some sales back here in 2023 for 2,200, 2,800, and then this one really struck me, 1,500 at the all-time low. So if we take the all-time low at 1,500, we're almost at 3K now. That's almost up 100% from the all-time low, which is pretty crazy. I will say, for reference, I do own a couple Ronaldo rookie stickers. I don't own a Zidane rookie sticker. But I'm always just super impressed by how strong these are compared to Ronaldo. I think it's more of a case of Ronaldo being undervalued than these being overvalued. And if you had to ask me why that is, Ronaldo clearly has another card sort of competing with it. And these also were faked and BGS graded fakes. I think the fakes did a lot of damage to the sticker. Personally, though, I think that the Ronaldo is pretty good value at 2K. I know it's not the most desired Ronaldo rookie, but I think it's the best looking. I actually think it's my favorite personally. Given the grade adjustment, you would say this is a PSA 7. The idea that you can get a PSA 7 Ronaldo, one grade higher than the Zidane for $1,000 less just seems crazy to me. But I do understand sort of the significance of the one true rookie. This is what you think of when you think of Zidane rookies. This might not be the Ronaldo you think of. But I just think over time, man, the gap between Ronaldo and Zidane will only grow. I say that as someone that understands there's pre-modern lovers out there, and I like it too, don't get me wrong. But man, the Ronaldo name is it's a totally different level. 2004 Messi 71 bits at 3,100 and a BGS 6.5. That's a pretty good price. BGS at like 5 through 7 almost is kind of like, kind of iffy territory in the sense of pricing. I haven't really done a whole lot as of late, but 3,120 seems like a pretty good move upward for even BGS med grades, which have struggled in the past, or at least when, some Messi 71 business have been moving. We've seen the 9s and the 10s go crazy. The BGS mid-grades haven't really done a whole lot, but this does actually feel like a pretty strong price. I would assume we've seen prices of this at times, pretty low 2s. So, low 3s is definitely a move upward. This row is just like a fever dream of a row for me. I mean, this is, it just gets me going. So, I guess we could just talk about it. A Pirlo gold for 4,500 feels like a good price, I would say. Man, I've said before, I'm not a huge fan of post-playing career. We'll talk about the Messi Kaboom, and this will sort of go back to the Pirlo, and through the Messi, we'll talk about the Pirlo. We have then a 2023 Topps Chrome sticker auto here. I don't know if this is like some super short print or something. It does seem like it would be an early release for him, so it's probably an early auto that people like for that reason. PSA 10 goes for 6,000 again. Feels like people are baking in Lamine Yamal is kind of going to do great things. I think people know. I think the cat's out of the bag at this point. 6K for that feels strong. Beyond that, Lionel Messi Kaboom for 6K as well in a PSA 10. So it just, looking at this row, it's crazy to me to think that you could own these 3 cards and it would cost you $16,000 to $17,000. Not the way I'd spend $16,000 to $17,000 in soccer, but again, to each their own. I understand people like modern cards, and you can certainly see that. When we go look at pricing here, this Messi Kaboom over the last year actually up 70%, so yeah, pretty good. You can't see the far right side of the screen, but there you can now. There it is, 70% in total. When we go all time, this is sort of where we'll gather the most info. It's actually not an all-time high. These have been as high during the 2021 craze as 10 to 12,000. So they've definitely come up from the bottom at 2,600, but nowhere near the all-time high. So maybe even some more room to run. Who knows? Pre-boom, and this is sort of my big gripe with Kaboom in general, was that no one really cared about it. Like pre-boom, and granted, you could say no one cared about soccer, but you can actually look at Kabooms for other sports, and it's very similar, where pre-2020, they were not worthless, but pretty accessible, like really accessible. Pre-boom, $60 to $100. Now $6,000. So, you know, a nice little 50 to 100x over the last couple of years. Feels like people like kabooms. And so I guess my point here with the gold kaboom, with the Pirlo that we're looking at, is pre-boom, which again, pre-boom soccer, it's hard to talk about, whatever. But like pre-boom, assume that there were golds this year, right? If the base is going for like $60, let's say the golds are like 500 or 1,000, like a huge multiple, right? 500 or 1,000. Now the booms come along. Clearly, gold kabooms would go crazy. They do go crazy. But to think in 2019, a gold Messi playing years kaboom would have been 500, $1,000. Clearly, you know, it would have gone up. It would have shot up massively. But pre-boom, a Messi would have been 500 to 1,000 playing years. I think that's first year kaboom. Don't roast me if I'm wrong. Or do. That's fine. Helps engagement. But the Pirlo out of 10 is 4,500. So the Messi pre-boom would have been 500, maybe 1,000. And now we're talking 10 times that price for a Pirlo post-playing career by a mile. And they're going to make more gold kabooms next year, the year after. As long as people are paying these prices, I can almost promise you there will be gold kabooms. And it's just nuts, man. It is just nuts. So let's get out of this row and, go to the top row, where even more nuts, just fun stuff. We have a Steve Bloomer here, so this is a Three Nuns. Three Nuns is a pretty legendary release in terms of pre-war UK. Pretty hard to find. You got a very, very depressed-looking Steve Bloomer. He doesn't look all that excited to be here. I saw some people, again, in the Vintage Discord, link down below, talking about the cut on this one. I mean, I don't know much about the set, but this does look pretty wonky. In terms of left-right. I've also seen people say maybe it's a little short top-bottom. I can't speak on that. I don't know. But all to say that people think that this wasn't a great-looking 4. Nonetheless, it does a pretty great price. The last PSA 4, which looks like the same exact one, did $3,100 in 2022, sort of the low of the soccer card hobby, so it seems. And this sale goes for about 150% more than the last at exactly on the mark of 7,500. So really cool card to see go again. Interesting to see the same copy go, and even more interesting to see the price difference on that one. Quite the boost there. And a fun pre-war item, something that's at this point stood the test of time. And 1902 to now, cool 125 years or so. The duality of man here in this row is just extraordinary. So you got a 1902, Three Nuns, and then next to it, you got a Zebra Lamine Yamal and an out of 50 Sapphire Auto. That's a PSA 8, which is pretty nuts. So the Zebra goes for 7,500. I did look up the Zebra in terms of pricing on that one. Here we have some past sales, which I guess I could zoom in on. There you go. Some of these are not the same one. Like this one is number, well, I guess, what is it? It's number 136. This one is number 124. So, of course, select, you got different levels, all that good stuff. Yeah, this does 7,500. Last sale of a similar one here, if I can find it. Again, you kind of got to look through them. But 1,100, I think. I think this is the same one. Yeah, so 1,100 in December. Now a cool 7,500. Needless to say, I think people are excited about this, man. And that pricing certainly shows it. I didn't look up the pricing on the Sapphire Gold. Let's just assume it's also up a ridiculous amount, because why wouldn't it be? 9,900 for a PSA 8 out of 50 auto. Seems pretty strong. So, yeah, Lamine Yamal, talk of the town, winner of the day. Just absolutely all over this auction block. And, yeah, it was interesting for sure. We'll take a look at next week and see what we got next week. I have not looked myself yet, so I'll be as surprised as you are. PSA 8 71 bits already pushing like 10K almost, which is pretty strong. 9,300 if another bid gets put on there. We got a gold Kylian Mbappe treble. I'm sure this Contra Lamine Yamal is going to go crazy. PSA 9 Monday Chroma already at a decent price as well. Nearly 1,500. That's kind of the low of what they've been at. You got a gold out of 3 Messi auto, a Pele auto, a red and blue back. Let's make sure that's correct. And, it is red and blue. PSA 7, pretty good grade on that one. Graded a while ago. PSA 8 Maradona from 82, another 71 bits. PSA 10 Kylian Mbappe, does anyone remember that guy? Same price as a Lamine Yamal Crystal auto in the same row, so that's always fun. Some Pele scattered throughout, Messi gold, some Ronaldo autos. I'm sure there'll be some Lamine Yamals, but yeah, fun time. And But this is where we'll call it. Hopefully you enjoyed the auction review. If you did, as always, make sure to leave a like. Love to hear your thoughts down below in the comments as well. And if you want to see more videos like this, as soon as I go live, make sure to subscribe. But with that said, hopefully you have a wonderful day, and peace.